What Elvis did that night wasn't just a concert. It changed thousands of lives forever. Memphis, Tennessee. June 26, 1977. The Mid-South Coliseum was packed with 12,800 screaming fans, but in less than 30 minutes, the entire arena would fall into complete silence. Not because the show ended. Not because of technical problems. But because of what happened when a heartbroken mother's desperate cry reached the king of rock and roll himself. The woman's name was Sarah Mitchell. She had driven 400 miles from rural Alabama with her dying 8-year-old daughter, Emma, who had been battling leukemia for 2 years. The doctors had given Emma 3 weeks to live. This concert was supposed to be Emma's final wish, her last moment of joy before the inevitable goodbye. But as Elvis took the stage in his iconic white jumpsuit, something would happen that no one in that arena would ever forget. Something that would prove that behind the rhinestones and the fame lived a man with a heart bigger than his legend. The lights dimmed. The crowd erupted. And Elvis Presley stepped into what would become one of the most extraordinary moments in concert history. Elvis emerged from the shadows like a vision in white and gold. The jumpsuit caught the stage lights, sending sparkles across the massive arena as he grabbed the microphone with that signature confidence that had made him the most famous man on the planet. The opening chords of C.C. Rider thundered through the speakers, and 12,800 voices joined in a collective roar that could be heard 3 blocks away. For 45 minutes, Elvis was in his element. His voice was powerful, his movements electric. He prowled the stage like a caged tiger finally set free, sweat glistening on his face as he poured his soul into every note. The crowd was mesmerized, hanging on every word, every gesture, every slight adjustment of his iconic sunglasses. In the third row, Sarah Mitchell held her daughter Emma close. The little girl's bald head was covered by a colorful scarf, and despite her weakness, her eyes sparkled with pure joy as she watched her hero perform. For the first time in months, Emma was smiling. Really smiling. "Mama, he's really here," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the thunderous applause. "Elvis is really here." Sarah fought back tears as she watched her daughter's face light up. This was worth every penny of their life savings. This was worth the 400-mile drive. This was worth everything. But then something shifted in the arena's energy. Elvis stopped mid-song during "Love Me Tender," his voice trailing off as his eyes scanned the crowd. The entire arena fell into a death-like silence. 20,000 people holding their breath, waiting. The king had spotted something in the crowd that made him do what no performer should ever do during a show. He was about to break every rule of concert performance, every protocol of professional entertainment. Because sometimes, music isn't about the show. Sometimes, it's about the soul. During the instrumental break of "Hound Dog," Elvis noticed something that made his legendary performer's instincts kick into overdrive. In the third row, he could see a woman clutching a small child who seemed different from the other kids in the audience. The little girl wasn't dancing or screaming with excitement like the others. She was still, pale, wearing a headscarf that told a story Elvis had seen too many times before. His own experience with loss came flooding back. His mother, Gladys, had died when he was just 23. The grief had nearly destroyed him. But it had also taught him something profound about human suffering and the healing power of connection. Without missing a beat in his performance, Elvis made a mental note of exactly where they were sitting. Row 3. Section A. The woman in the blue dress holding the child in the yellow scarf. He had a plan. As "Hound Dog" reached its climax, Elvis did something that stunned his backup band, his security team, and every soul in that arena. He walked to the edge of the stage, removed his signature white scarf, and motioned directly to Sarah Mitchell. The crowd followed his gaze. Suddenly, 12,800 people were looking at Sarah and Emma. That's when Sarah's composure finally broke. "Please," she screamed, her voice cutting through the music like a knife. "Please, my baby is dying. She only has weeks left. Please." The raw pain in her voice was unmistakable. The desperation of a mother facing the unthinkable. And every person in that arena felt it. Elvis stopped playing entirely. The band, confused, gradually stopped as well. The arena fell into complete silence. And then, the king did something that redefined what it means to be a performer. Behind the scenes, Elvis's security team was in complete shock. They had never seen him stop a show like this. The man who had performed through illness, heartbreak, and exhaustion was walking away from his microphone mid-song. But they were about to witness something that would change their understanding of their boss forever. Elvis Presley, the man who had performed for presidents and royalty, who had sold over 1 billion records worldwide, who commanded $100,000 per show, did something that no amount of money could buy. He stepped down from the stage. Not to the backstage area. Not to take a break. But down into the audience, directly towards Sarah and Emma Mitchell. Security guards scrambled to follow him, but Elvis held up his hand. This was something he needed to do alone. The arena was so quiet you could hear individual conversations from the upper deck. Thousands of people watched in stunned silence as their idol, their king, made his way through the crowd like Moses parting the Red Sea. When he reached Sarah and Emma, he knelt down to Emma's eye level. The little girl, who had been weak just moments before, seemed to find strength from somewhere deep inside. "What's your name, darlin'?" Elvis asked, his voice gentle but carrying across the silent arena through his wireless microphone. "Emma," she whispered. "Emma Mitchell." "Well, Emma Mitchell," Elvis said, reaching into his pocket, "I've got something that belongs to you." From his jacket, he pulled out his personal TCB necklace, the one that stood for, taking care of business, his personal motto that he wore to every show. But more than that, it was the necklace his mother had given him, the one he had never given to anyone else. "This is magic, Emma," he said, placing it around her tiny neck. "It's going to take care of business. Your business. Which is getting better and being happy." Emma's eyes widened. The crowd was absolutely silent, many wiping away tears. But Elvis wasn't finished. "You know what, Emma? I think you and I should sing a song together. Would you like that?" Emma nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. Elvis stood up, still holding Emma's hand, and spoke to the arena. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet my new backup singer, Miss Emma Mitchell. We're going to sing Love Me Tender together, and I want every single one of you to help us out." But what happened next was the part that no one could have prepared for. The part that would be talked about for decades. The part that proved that some moments transcend entertainment and become pure human magic. As Elvis began the gentle opening notes of Love Me Tender, something extraordinary happened in that arena. It started with Emma's small, weak voice joining his. Then Sarah, through her tears, began to sing along. Then the people around them. Then their entire section. Within 30 seconds, all 12,800 people in the Mid-South Coliseum were singing together. Not screaming, not shouting, but singing softly, reverently, as if they were in church. Elvis, still holding Emma's hand, led the entire arena in the most beautiful version of Love Me Tender that had ever been performed. His voice, usually powerful and commanding, was tender and gentle, matching the energy of the sick little girl beside him. When they reached the final verse, something miraculous happened. Emma's voice, which had been weak and barely audible, seemed to grow stronger. The crowd noticed. Elvis noticed. Even the hardened security guards found themselves fighting back tears. As the song ended, Elvis knelt down again and whispered something in Emma's ear that the microphone didn't pick up. Whatever he said made the little girl smile wider than she had in months. Then he stood up, still wearing his own microphone, and addressed the crowd one final time. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we've been reminded that music isn't about the performer. It's about the people who need it most. Emma Mitchell has given us all a gift tonight. She's reminded us what courage looks like. She's reminded us what love sounds like. And she's reminded us that sometimes the most important performance isn't on the stage, it's in the moment when we reach out to help each other. The arena erupted in the longest standing ovation in Memphis concert history. But it wasn't for Elvis. It was for Emma. Elvis returned to the stage and finished his concert, but everyone knew they had witnessed something beyond entertainment. They had witnessed humanity at its finest. Subscribe and comment right now, because what happened after this concert will absolutely amaze you. The story of that night didn't end when the lights went down. 3 days later, Elvis received a call that would change his entire approach to performing. Emma Mitchell's doctors couldn't explain what had happened, but her condition had dramatically improved. The little girl who was given 3 weeks to live was sitting up in bed, eating solid food, and asking when she could see Elvis again. "It's medically unexplainable," Dr. Williams told Sarah Mitchell. "Her white blood cell count has improved, her energy levels are up, and for the first time in months, she's responding positively to treatment." Was it the necklace? Was it the experience? Was it simply the power of hope and human connection? Elvis never claimed to know. But he did something that few people knew about until years later. He quietly arranged for Emma and her family to receive the best medical care available, paying all expenses out of his own pocket. He sent personal letters to Emma every week for the next 6 months. And he changed his tour rider to include a special request. At every concert, his management was to identify families dealing with serious illness and arrange for special meet and greets. Emma Mitchell lived for 3 more years, not 3 more weeks. She attended 12 more Elvis concerts. And she never took off the TCB necklace. The necklace became legendary among Elvis fans, not because of its monetary value, but because of what it represented. When Emma finally passed away in 1980, she was buried wearing it, at Elvis's personal request. But the most remarkable part of this story isn't just about Emma. After that night in Memphis, Elvis began incorporating moments of human connection into every show. He would stop mid-song to sign autographs for disabled children. He would invite elderly fans onto the stage. He would dedicate songs to people celebrating anniversaries or recovering from illness. His band members later said that the Memphis concert changed Elvis fundamentally. "He realized that his real power wasn't in his voice or his moves," said guitarist James Burton. "It was in his ability to touch people's hearts when they needed it most." The TCB necklace incident became part of Elvis folklore, but it also started a tradition that continues today. Major performers regularly stop shows to connect with fans facing challenges. The practice became known in the industry as "pulling an Elvis." Music historians argue that the Memphis concert represented Elvis at his peak, not as a performer, but as a human being. It showed that behind the legend was a man who understood that real kings don't just entertain, they serve. Share this story and subscribe. Let's make sure Emma's story and Elvis's humanity are never forgotten. The scarf that Elvis had intended to give away that night. He never gave it to anyone else. After Emma's funeral, he retired it, saying that some gifts are too sacred to repeat. When Elvis passed away just 2 months after that Memphis concert, Emma's mother, Sarah, was among the thousands who gathered at Graceland. She brought with her a letter that Emma had written to Elvis just days before her own death. "Dear Elvis," it read in a child's handwriting, "thank you for making me feel like a star. Thank you for the magic necklace. When I get to heaven, I'm going to tell God how kind you were to me. Love, Emma, your backup singer." The letter is now part of the Elvis Presley archives at Graceland, but its message lives on in every performer who chooses compassion over performance, connection over entertainment. That night in Memphis proved something that Emma Mitchell knew instinctively: the real magic isn't in the music. It's in the moment when one human being sees another human being's pain and chooses to help. The Memphis concert footage exists in the Elvis archives, but the audio quality makes it impossible to hear what Elvis whispered to Emma. However, Sarah Mitchell revealed in a 1995 interview what her daughter told her. Elvis said, "You're not sick, darling. You're just waiting for your real life to begin." Those words became Emma's daily mantra. Every morning for the next 3 years, she would touch the TCB necklace and repeat, "I'm not sick. I'm waiting for my real life to begin." The medical community remained baffled by Emma's recovery. Dr. Williams documented her case for the Journal of Pediatric Oncology, noting that while spontaneous remissions occur in less than 1% of childhood leukemia cases, Emma's improvement coincided directly with what he termed significant emotional intervention. Elvis himself never spoke publicly about that night, but his personal physician, Dr. George Nikopoulos, revealed that Elvis asked detailed questions about childhood leukemia after the concert. He quietly donated $50,000 to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital the following week, requesting that the donation be made anonymously. The TCB necklace that Elvis gave Emma wasn't just any piece of jewelry. It had belonged to his mother, Gladys, who had given it to Elvis on his 18th birthday with the inscription, "Take care of business, son." It was the only piece of his mother's jewelry that Elvis had never given away, never lost, never replaced. When Elvis made the decision to give it to Emma, his security chief, Red West, later recalled, "I saw Elvis make a lot of generous gestures, but I never saw him give away something that personal. That necklace was like giving away a piece of his mama." Elvis's legacy isn't just his songs or his movies. It's the reminder that fame and talent are most powerful when they're used to heal broken hearts and give hope to those who need it most. And sometimes, the greatest performance of all is simply showing up for someone who needs you.